They sent her to a blood hunter Apache to die, but he offered her food, warmth, and his protection. The dust of the frontier always carried whispers of judgment, and for Sarah Whitfield, the whispers had turned into a sentence. She had been born into the town of Redstone, raised under the eyes of people who valued obedience more than compassion. But Sarah was different. She had shared food with those considered enemies, and she had spoken kindly of people her town despised. It was enough. In a land where suspicion could kill faster than a bullet, her small acts of mercy became her undoing. The elders of Redstone decreed her punishment. They would not hang her, nor shoot her. That would have been too merciful. Instead, they led her beyond the edge of town, chains binding her wrists, and delivered her to the one figure all whispered about with fear, the blood hunter Apache. No one spoke his real name anymore. He had earned his title through years of violence, through battles fought in silence, and through survival that defied both settlers and tribes. They said he could track a man through stone, that he had taken lives without a flicker of emotion. He was more ghost than man, a figure carved by hardship and blood. Sending Sarah to him was no different than throwing her into a grave. The day was sinking into a copper sunset when she first saw him. He stood tall in the mouth of a canyon, bare chest marked with scars, long black hair stirred by the wind. In one hand he held a bow, in the other a skinning knife. His eyes were unreadable, dark as obsidian, and when the townsmen pushed Sarah forward, he did not speak. He only watched. They left her there, trembling in her chains, and rode back without a word. The sound of their horses faded, leaving only the quiet rush of the wind. Sarah swallowed hard, bracing for the end. But instead of striking, the Apache moved slowly toward the fire pit beside his shelter. He dropped dry branches, coaxed flame from flint, and set meat to cook. When the smell drifted into the cold air, her stomach clenched. She hadn't eaten since morning. He noticed her eyes on the food, and after a long silence, he tore a piece of meat and held it out. Sarah shook her head, confused. "Why?" she whispered. His answer was simple. "Because you are hungry." It was not what she expected. The monster they had told her about, the merciless killer, was nowhere in his voice. He offered her food, and when she dared to take it, warmth spread through her like sunlight after a storm. The first night she slept on the hard ground, certain he would slit her throat before dawn. But when she woke, he was gone into the hills, returning with fresh water and herbs. He cut her chains with a single strike of his blade, tossing the metal aside as if it offended him. "You are not my prisoner," he said. Days turned to weeks. She helped gather wood, learned which roots could be eaten, and listened to the quiet rhythm of life in the wilderness. He did not speak much, but his actions spoke for him, a blanket offered when the night grew cold, a hand that steadied her when she stumbled, silence that allowed her to breathe without judgment. She learned his name in time, Taji. In his language, it meant, the hawk that circles. A name of solitude, of one who watches from afar. And she learned his truth. The title, Blood Hunter, was not born of cruelty, but survival. He had hunted those who hunted his people. He had defended what little could not be taken. And though his past was filled with blood, his heart was tired of it. Sarah's fear became trust, and trust became something deeper. At night, by the fire, he told her stories of spirits in the mountains, of ancestors who spoke through dreams. She told him of her childhood, of the loneliness that clung to her even in the midst of a crowded town. Their words wove a fragile bond, one that grew stronger each day. But Redstone did not forget. Months later, riders came into the hills. Armed men, their faces twisted with suspicion and hate, came to reclaim what they believed was theirs. They accused Sarah of betraying her blood, of lying with the enemy. They demanded her return. Sarah stood trembling as the men shouted, rifles gleaming in the sun. But before fear could overtake her, Taji stepped forward. His bow was drawn, eyes burning with the calm of a warrior ready to protect. "No," he said. His voice was steady as stone. The men laughed, threatened, cursed. Sarah, shaking, felt something ignite inside her. She stepped out from behind him, raising her voice so they all could hear. "I am not your property," she cried. "You sent me here to die. Instead, I found life. You gave me chains. He gave me freedom. You gave me hate. He gave me protection. I will not go back." For a long moment, silence reigned. The men shifted, uncertain. The sight of the blood hunter, bow drawn, and the woman standing defiantly at his side, was more than they had prepared for. One by one, they backed away, cursing under their breath, until the dust of their retreat vanished over the ridge. Sarah turned to Taji, tears burning her eyes. He lowered the bow, and for the first time, he touched her hand, not as a protector, not as a stranger, but as something more. That night, the fire burned brighter than ever. The mountains seemed less harsh, the stars less distant. She had been sent to die in the hands of a feared Apache. Instead, she had found food, warmth, and a promise of protection. And in that promise, she found love. From then on, Sarah was no longer the outcast of Redstone. She was the woman of the mountains, the one who walked beside the blood hunter. And in the silence of the wild, they carved a life that no decree, no town, and no hatred could ever take away.